Hey there. Good afternoon. Good evening. Good morning. Maybe if you're watching in Hawaii or something, you're tuning into episode 41 of Cover Your Balls. I'm today's host, Mitch Balla. That was not our host, Floyd. That's potential sponsor, maybe, Jordan?
Potential sponsor. Floyd's on the go. Potential. We'll see. Everything has potential, Mitch. You know how that goes.
Everything has potential unless it has no potential anymore, like things that have been canceled. But alongside me today is not Floyd, but once again, my co-host, Jordan McKelly. Jordan,
Mitch,
how are we doing?
You know, Mitch, it's been a good day. I found out they're coming out with some new flavored White Claws that are going to be 8%, not 5%. We all know big White Claw guy over here. Not a big guy, but big White Claw guy. Huge.
Now, see, I'm a big White Claw guy, and I am a big guy. So very, very excited for the White Claw Surge as they came out with the name. But, you know, we'll touch on that a little more later in the headlines of this show. Have a lot of different balls to talk about. You know, baseball's in full swing now, but we're not going to get into all the fine details. But we do have an interesting take on some of the games and the teams in the league. You know, the Browns are in the news again. Our Cleveland Browns.
Go Browns.
Julian Edelman, who some people, and those people are more than likely morons, think is a Pro Football Hall of Famer, will be in Canton, Ohio. Let me tell you, if he's in Canton, Ohio for any other reason than Tom Brady's induction, then I'm going to go down to the Pro Football Hall of Fame and break my foot off and hit him in the face because he's not a Hall of Famer. We'll get into that later for sure. The Denver Nuggets just lost their dipping sauce, and their sauce meaning the swag of that team. We'll talk about what that does for their, you know, potential title aspirations. Yep. That's what the Denver Nuggets came in with this season. But all the balls will be covered. But first things first, we need to talk about the things that were canceled, Jordan. And our top 4 things that are canceled that we want to bring back or can't wait to be back. So, Jordan, give me your top 4 at 4.
Yeah, top 4 at 4, Mitch. I'm going with the classic number 4. Everybody wants to bring back LeBron's hairline. Now, did it leave us before 2020? Maybe, just maybe. But I'm not against bringing it back. I say let's go start a GoFundMe account. They only take 20% of the proceeds, and let's get LeBron's hairline back. Apparently, $1 billion isn't enough to fix his hairline. Number 3, I would love to bring back Kobe Bryant. In 2020, we lost Kobe Bryant. A guy that I never necessarily didn't like when I watched, but I always respected him to a high degree. And that sucks. So if 2021 could bring something back, I'd love to bring back Kobe Bryant. Number 2, Aunt Jemima, my favorite syrup. You son of bitches. How do you take Aunt Jemima? How do you take her out of the stores? She's done just a decent job, but an excellent job for years, buttering all my pancakes and all my French toast. Aunt Jemima, I would love for you to come back. If you're not allowed in the stores, you're still allowed in my household anytime. And at number 1, everybody knows that I'm a huge concert guy. Actually, probably everybody doesn't know that because I don't know everybody. But I love concerts. I go to Bonnaroo, Hangout Fest, love music festivals, and nothing brings people together like sports and music. And Mitch, that's my top 4 at 4, and I'm standing by it.
That's a phenomenal top 4 at 4.
Thanks,
I think you hit a home run when you talk about Aunt Jemima. There's nobody else is better. Mrs. Butterworth, get the hell out of here, okay? But unfortunately now she has to be number 1. Jordan, you know, we talked about this before we started the show today.
Travesty.
So is it acceptable for me to have Uncle Ben on here, or is Uncle Ben uncancelable? Like we were trying to decide, has he been canceled because Aunt Jemima was canceled, or is he not able to be canceled? So that, I feel like he's, you know, hovering around that number 4 for me.
Okay. I like it.
It's a tough list to come up with. You know, so many things were canceled, but I'm drawing a blank. So we're just going to go with race number 3 then. Mr. Potato Head.
Ooh.
The hell did you do with my childhood, Hasbro? It's Mr. Potato Head always, every day, and twice on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Okay, it will always be Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head. And if you don't agree with those pronouns, get out of the ball pit. That's all I have to say about that. Number 2, Rob Baronis. You know, you mentioned Kobe Bryant. My dad is in the chat right now. We look dapper today. Dad, appreciate it. You know, always love the love from the ball pit. But once I saw that, I realized that the world hasn't been the same without Rob Baronis since he was tragically taken in that motorcycle accident.
That happened a decade and a half ago, didn't it? Like a decade ago?
Yeah, you know what? But this is our show, and I decided to expand the rules a little bit, and it wasn't in 2020, but I think watching the Tennessee Titans play football in 2020 and how often the kicks were missed by Steven Gostkowski to start the year, it made me realize that there's really only one Rob Baronis, and we haven't been able to sing that song. As you remember, we were big fans of Rob Baronis, and
Rob Baronis, for all of you who've listened to my Sharona. By the way, that was Big Mike out there in the ball pit who brought Rob Baronis his own theme song. So Big Mike out there, who was second place in our March Madness bracket challenge. Thank you for that original song.
Mm-hmm. And we miss you, Rob.
Of course.
We miss Rob Baronis. I forgot I did have concerts on there. I didn't mention it. But Jordan, at number one, things I want to bring back. Technically not gone yet, but it will be gone soon. The Cleveland Indians.
Yeah,
we'll talk about that later. We're going to get into that later, but that's at number one. Things I want to bring back. It's not even gone yet, but the fact that I know it's going to be gone,
I know,
pisses me off.
I know. Well, anytime anybody tells you that you can't do something, you automatically want to do whatever the hell that is. Whether it's something stupid that they're telling you not to do or not. Yeah. So it's been a rough year for people who like nostalgia, because a lot of nostalgic things have been canceled. One of those things being Aunt Jemima, and nothing we can do about it.
Hell, the show Paw Patrol almost got canceled. That was my Saturday morning programming during quarantine. I was watching Paw Patrol. It almost got canceled too. And it looks like there was a little contradictory statement out there from the White House not getting canceled. So everybody that watches Paw Patrol, it is okay. We can resume to watching that on Saturday mornings, and then go listen to Morning Polka on 88.1. But that's besides the fact of why we're here today. Let's get to why we are here today, and let's start with the NFL. Okay. Yeah, I know the NBA is in the swing of things. Yeah, the MLB is just kicking off, but we're 2 weeks away from the draft, a little over 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
You and I talked about our draft show today. We're very excited about what we're going to have going on.
Yes,
but
sir.
Jordan, there's some things going on in the NFL that we haven't talked about. We're not here to talk about Mr. Watson down in Houston. We're not here to talk about all those women or anything else. We're here to talk about three big things. And the first one.
How big?
Well, the one's very big because Jadeveon Clowney is a very large man. But we're not going to start with him. We're going to start with the smaller big guy. And that's Julian Edelman. Julian Edelman, wide receiver for the New England Patriots, announced his retirement yesterday, Jordan, saying that it was an injury he suffered last year. Reports are he failed a physical with the Patriots.
Yeah. Ultimately
leading to his quote unquote retirement. And why do I put it that way? Because I'm not going to be shocked if he comes back and plays for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
That'd be wild.
You've seen it before with Rob Gronkowski. I'm not going to be shocked if it happens. But Jordan, early takeaway from Julian Edelman retiring.
He was one of my favorite players to watch. And I know everyone out in the ball pit's like, you're picking somebody who is like not even probably in the, I don't know. I mean, he's not the most athletic guy, right? He doesn't have great size. But I think he's the guy that everybody feels that they could be, right? Because he works hard, and he just does things the right way. I mean, you don't get drafted. He's drafted in the 7th round. He wasn't even offered a scholarship to play at Kent State, and when he played at Kent State, he was a quarterback. I think it was time for Julian Edelman to hang it up. He played just such a violent position with how he plays the game. I mean, we saw Wes Welker towards the end of his career. He just got too banged up playing the way he played, and he had to retire. Very similar thing here with my boy. I know that there's a lot of talk about Hall of Fame. I'm one of those guys that I'm a big Julian Edelman fan, but a lot of those people out there, Mitch, need to pump the brakes because the Hall of Fame should be the best of the best. I don't want to hear people say, well, he has one of the best postseasons for the playoffs as a wide receiver ever. That's cool. But the regular season, you have to get to the playoffs, right? So, and that's 16 games. So it's tough. Well, it's not really tough at all. There's no way he's getting in the Hall of Fame, and he shouldn't be. But he is, and in my eyes, has the best catch and most important catch in football history. So I'm happy for Julian Edelman. Incredible retirement video. If you guys haven't watched the retirement video, go to his Twitter, at Julian Edelman, probably, right? I almost said .com, but that's a website. So
it's actually at Edelman11.
At Edelman11.
I have it pulled up right here.
Yeah, and check it out. It was very well thought out. You could tell that he knew he was going to fail his physical. This was like weeks in the making.
Yeah.
No one does something like this. So this wasn't everybody who's out there like, oh my gosh, Bill Belichick's even willing to to move off Edelman. Well, yeah, he's willing to move off of everybody. But in this case, they weren't really moving off Edelman as much as Edelman's moving off of football, going into a new chapter of his life. I hope he doesn't come out of retirement and go to Tampa Bay. But if he does, I hope they win. That's how I feel about Julian Edelman. What a great career. Crazy.
Let me tell you, if he does come out of retirement and goes to Tampa Bay, he's still not a Hall of Famer. We'll just put it that way.
Well,
Pierre Garçon more receiving yards.
Well, yeah, but what if he goes to Tampa Bay and has 10,000 receiving yards? What if he revitalizes his career?
Season?
Well, I mean, in a couple seasons. I mean, Josh Gordon had 1,450 yards, and he had like my mom, your mom, and a great aunt throwing to him for an entire season.
I mean, that's true. That is. I mean, that's.
And Josh Gordon was stoned and drunk the whole time. So I mean, hey, I'm just saying, don't leave it out there. You can't say he could go down there and he couldn't turn it around.
And he's 30. By the time the season starts, he'll be 35. Listen, he's 34 and 326 days old. His birthday is on May 22nd. So we'll remember to give the Golden Flash alum shout out to Sam Summers.
Can I say one thing before we move on?
Yeah,
Just I'm just messing with you with the last couple things I said, but I saw a tweet out there that said Tyreek Hill has 17 more touchdowns than Julian Edelman, and he's played 5 seasons. And Julian Edelman played either 12 or 13? Was it 12 seasons? I think.
Been in the league since 2009. 137 career games.
Yeah, so basically, we would have to put so many people. Everybody would be in the Hall of Fame if we put Julian Edelman in. I just thought it was funny.
I mean, he's a good wide receiver. He's known for, like you said, what I don't rank it up there as the best, but it's for sure up there as one of the greatest catches in Super Bowl history when they were down 28-3. He was a vital part of 3 Super Bowl runs for System, and I just think that that he's a very good wide receiver, but he's not a Hall of Fame wide receiver. Wes Welker isn't a Hall of Fame wide receiver, and I think Wes Welker, when you look, if you compare the numbers side by side, this is me firing from the hip. I think Wes Welker would have a better resume, and he's not going to be in Canton, Ohio.
Not a chance.
Listen, Canton, Ohio is for badasses on the football field and then badasses that were raised in Stark County. That's all I got to say.
We have some punters in the Hall of Fame, so not necessarily. There's a lot of people in the Hall of Fame that shouldn't be there. Special team. They also have murderers in the Hall of Fame. Yeah, it should be. We talked about this a long time ago. I'm going to just say this one time. Yeah, there are some murders in there. But after a certain amount of years, if you don't get into the Hall of Fame, you shouldn't be able to get in after 30 years, 40 years, 20 years, 15 years. If you're not good enough to where we're thinking of you right after you retire, like, oh my gosh, we might be able to vote on him in the next 5 years, then you shouldn't be able to ever be put in. Is that fair enough, Mitch? I think it is. I also, to come back at that point though, there's always the classes though that are so big that there's always going to be guys that don't make it right away. Yeah, I think we're going to be entering years here where all the guys that are going in we have been able to watch, and there's going to be some loaded classes. I think there's already started to be some loaded classes. Ultimately, there are guys that have played back in the day that didn't get in for that same exact reason, because you only have 5 years of eligibility. And so if that's the case, then I can understand it. But yeah, some of these other guys that get in, they're not around to even accept it. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but what's the point of putting them in at this point if they're 90 years old? I mean, yes, sure, they paved the way and they made football what's great, but I agree with you. If you go through there, well, then again, every record's meant to be broken. Everybody that keeps going to the Hall of Fame is going to break records. So you can't really downplay the record part. I don't know. I think you could go into the Hall of Fame and pick and choose some guys that are in there that have no business being in there. But you just said something really important. It's very important that we choose the people who played in their era close enough to their era before we forget about what their era was. Every era is different, right? I like how they posted Baker Mayfield, all his stats, because I thought about this like 8 months ago, and they put them all up against Bernie Kosar's and Brian Sipes, and they were like, he already has all the Browns records. Yeah, but it's a completely different game of football. Baker Mayfield probably wouldn't have made it back then. It's a completely different game. So, like, the stats, the records, everything is all relative. So, like, were you great in your time? In your time, were you great? Were you a force to be reckoned with? And some of these people, like, we're not forced to be reckoned with in their time. Therefore, like, we can't put them in. Because athletes have only gotten better. Okay, so you can't tell me we need to put worse athletes in from 40, 50 years ago who weren't great enough in their time to get voted in then, but now all of a sudden we're just going to vote them in so we can have their family around. No. Deion Sanders is upset, and he's right for a reason. Stop making that. We need to be more serious about who we let in. They need to put me on the committee.
Well, I can drive down and go see Dave Baker, see if he's willing to put you on the committee maybe.
His hands are huge, by the way. Dave Baker,
dude.
His hands are huge.
And for anybody out there in the pulpit, if you don't know who David Baker is, he is the president of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Please, first off, not only are his hands huge, the man is just, as some friends of mine call him, a unit. When you think of or look up the word unit in the dictionary, his picture should be right next to it.
It's not Randy Johnson. It's Baker's.
You know what? He'd make Randy Johnson look small besides the height. I mean, you think Randy Johnson's tall and skinny? Randy Johnson would literally look like a twig I could go pick off the back tree in my backyard. It's David Baker is a massive human being. Also one of the friendliest guys I've ever met, being able to work with him for 2 years over at the Hall of Fame events. So
100%.
Awesome guy. And you'd think he played football. He didn't though.
He didn't.
Probably the biggest man didn't play football.
Yeah. He spoke at my chapel once when I was in college. It was kind of weird. I showed up and I saw this enormous guy. I was like, who the hell is that guy? Yeah, that's how we met. Nice guy. Very nice guy.
Hands. And his hands just engulf mine, and it makes me feel very inferior, and it really makes me, think about myself a lot. But let's talk about another big guy. Enough about Julian Edelman.
Okay.
Great career. We'll see what happens. I'm still not ruling out. Another big man. That's Jadeveon Clowney. Jordan.
Pretty big.
What is going on between the Cleveland Browns and Jadeveon Clowney? It's like this relationship they're trying to force to work that just is obviously not meant to be. They met last year, had a bad first date. Browns, though, they paid the bill, is what they did. The Browns paid the bill. They said, hey, we'll give you $17 million to come be with us. But sometimes money isn't everything. Sometimes you can't pay someone to stay with you. And he said, no, I'm going to go take $16 million from a little girl down in Nashville, Tennessee, and stay with Tennessee Titans. Well, that didn't work out well for him. Played 8 games, got hurt, no sacks, 1 forced fumble on a end around from the Steelers wide receiver, one of the wide receivers. But now he's back. The injury-prone former first-round draft pick, number 1 overall draft pick, who I still believe is one of the most overrated number 1 picks in NFL history. He's known for 1 big hit in college football, and that's it. But you can tell me anything else he did in college besides knocking a man out from Michigan in the Outback Bowl.
I mean, a lot of guys have knocked Michigan players out, so you're right. Was it a great hit? Maybe. No. Let's be all honest here. The hit was so ridiculous that I was at dinner the other night, and I pulled my phone out in front of my girlfriend, D. I said, D, you have to see this. I know you don't watch a whole lot of football, but you don't have to watch football to know what murder looks like. We've watched enough SVU in Criminal Minds and stuff. We've seen murder before. And Jadeveon Clowney murdered a man on the football field. But you are right. He hasn't done a whole lot lately. No. What have you done for me lately?
And that's the big thing. And so, listen, he was drafted, what was it? First overall in the 2014 draft by the Houston Texans, a horrendous franchise still, but no sacks last year. Now, all of a sudden he needs someone to take a flyer on him. And the Browns are looking for another rusher to put opposite of Myles Garrett. This is a no brainer if the money works out. Now, this man who doesn't stay healthy, 2, has never posted a double-digit sack year in his career. And for the number 1 overall pick, that's bad. Myles Garrett had 10 sacks in his first 8 games last year?
Yeah.
Before he got COVID, and then came back and just, obviously struggled. But Myles Garrett is on a torrid pace. Jadeveon Clowney is nowhere near the greats when it comes to defensive ends taken in the first round. Not even number 1 overall, the first round. But Jordan, I pose this to you.
Okay. Pose it.
Does Clowney, a.k.a. Doo-Doo, his nickname, according to Pro Football Reference.
That's his nickname?
Jadeveon Clowney, and next to it says Doo-Doo.
How's it spelled, though?
DOO hyphen DOO.
Oh, all right. That's something.
All right. Does Clowney need the Browns, or do the Browns need Clowney? Who needs who more?
Oh, man. Wow, that's a really good question. And it's not, we talked a lot about this over the last week, obviously off YouTube television or YouTube Live here. But we've been talking about this, and I'm still unclear on what people see in Clowney because I've watched him play a ton. All right. Football is one of the only sports that I will watch almost every game that's on television at all times because there's so much to stake at every game. I've watched so many Clowney games, and I've never felt like he put his imprint on any game. And I would know because I've watched a lot of games with Tony Romo in the Houston Texans, and he's you know how Tony Romo likes to basically just destroy the audience numbers by talking about one specific player who's great on the field all game long, and he'll pick a different player every game. He's never picked him, Mitch. He's never picked him. Yeah. And if Tony Romo can't pick him, why would I pick him? Here's the thing. Do the Browns need Jadeveon Clowney? The teams always are always in a greater need than I feel like the players are. If you're a very good player. And I think he's a very good. I think he's bordering line very good. It's close. But for the money he wants to be paid like a great player. So it's I'm gonna say in this instance, and I don't think I would say this in every instance, especially after what I just said. I think Clowney needs the Browns more than the Browns need Clowney. I think the Browns did a lot of things in the offseason to bolster their defensive line and also to bolster their secondary, right? Honestly, for the money difference that Clowney wants, I think Clowney is in a tough position because I don't think the Browns are going to be willing to give him the money. Because if they were, they would have already done it by now. Andrew Berry is not going to just toss out money to somebody. We don't want to just win this year, right? The Browns don't want to just win this year. They want to win next year. Baker Mayfield has 2 years left on his contract, okay? And the Browns have not talked to him about his contract yet. So their window's open for 2 years. I haven't checked who has 1 year left on their contracts around the NFL, so I don't know what free agency looks like next year.
Nicholas Jamal Chubb.
Say that again?
Nick Chubb.
Is he a free agent next year?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but
remember, he was a second round pick, only 4-year deal for second rounders.
That's right.
No option for the year.
But he's gonna. I mean, I would bet. Yeah, he's gonna come back to the Browns. I don't think Nick Chubb is going to go anywhere. I think the Browns are a perfect place for him. I think it'd be a huge mistake if Nick Chubb left. Do you think the Browns need Clowney more than Clowney needs the Browns? What do you feel about this?
Clowney definitely needs the Browns more than the Browns need Clowney. But
tell me why.
Listen, if Clowney was such high in demand, he wouldn't be taking a second visit with the Cleveland Browns. All right.
Mm-hmm.
He has not performed up to, like I said, what a number 1 overall pick should do. His best years in Houston were 2017, 2018. He posted 9.5 sacks. Then the next year was 9. Opposite of J.J. Watt. The years that he has not been opposite of J.J. Watt, either via Watt injury or once he was traded to Seattle or Tennessee, he's been terrible. I mean, he really has. The only thing Clowney has done very well at a high level, and even last year in just 8 games, he was ranked 19th by Pro Football Focus at stopping the run. And that is why I would take him, but for the right price. And I'm not even okay with a 1 year, $10 million. Spot Track is this website that talks about everybody's financials, contracts, and what a player's worth. They have Clowney estimated at $13.5 million. I'd pay about $5 million less than that at the most. 8.5 is probably my limit. If he's so good at the run and he's opposite Myles Garrett, playing the defensive end position, not right at side linebacker like the Houston Texans had him do for, looks like 3 years here.
Yeah.
I think he would be very effective. And there's more that goes into a game than sacks, obviously. But you putting somebody else that's younger than Olivier Vernon is, who the Browns are not going to re-sign because he tore his Achilles, maybe on a 1-year prove-it deal that wants to get paid when this cap explodes here in the next year or two, and put him on an incentive-based deal. What do you have to lose if you can sign a guy like Clowney? We know the talent's in there. It's more so for me. I just feel like sometimes he's lazy. I really do. Or he just isn't motivated. So now you take him from the losing culture that was in Houston, goes to Seattle, wasn't a fit there. Goes to Tennessee, wasn't a fit there. And obviously, got hurt. Bring him into a locker room that all of a sudden is a bunch of young and up and coming guys that people still, after all the additions the Browns made, a lot of people in the NFL don't think the Browns are serious contenders.
That's fair.
But you add Clowney to stop the run, which, Baltimore is calling. Oh, yeah, Baltimore that just runs the ball down your throat the entire game. You could just not put anybody. Actually, you could put Anderson Dejo back there, and they're still going to run the ball. You bring Clowney now, and you have Myles Garrett. You have Tack McKinley, who you signed on a 1-year prove-it deal. You still have Sheldon Richardson. Let's not forget about Elliott, the Mizzou tackle we have.
Yep.
We have somebody else that opted out last year for COVID that's coming back. If you sign Jadeveon Clowney to a 1-year no-risk contract and make it incentive-based, or maybe a 2-year $14 million deal with a club option the second year, either way, I would do it. But if it's anything more than $10 million, I'm telling you, Andrew Berry is not going to do that. We've seen this team get the bang for their buck so far in free agency. After now 2 years of having this front office and regime in place, what appears to be the best head coach we possibly could have had in Kevin Stefanski, they are all on the same page for what now is 2 years in a row. That has to be the longest time ever a front office in Cleveland has been on the same page in our lives, Jordan. So sure. I have faith in Andrew Berry to not overpay, but I would take him. Am I going to be heartbroken if we don't get him? No. Am I going to be ecstatic and say we're Super Bowl contenders if we get him? No, I'm not. I don't know if he changes the dynamic of the defense and the dynamic of this team that much.
That's fair enough. I will say, I know a lot of people aren't big fans of this guy. I'm going to say his name. John Dorsey is the one who set, the runway up for the plane to take off. If you think this thing would have happened without John Dorsey, you're out of your mind. John Dorsey built a winning culture. Let's not act like Andy Reid just went to Kansas City and did that all by himself, because he couldn't get it done in Philly, right? Not that right. That's a great organization. But I am saying that, John Dorsey's been, the last 2 places he's been, they've done pretty well, right? They were the 2 of the 4 AFC teams left in the playoffs last year.
Not only that, but I'm just guessing here, but wasn't he in Green Bay when they took Rodgers too? He was with the Green Bay Packers. So he has listen, that's where the whole fallout came last year. That's a different story.
He's really a brilliant
man.
He's
a brilliant talent evaluator. Now, head coach evaluator, contract evaluator, no, he isn't. And that's ultimately what got him canned. But I think he has the potential to thrive now in Detroit, where all he's doing is the head of the scouting department, I believe, or talent evaluator. But you're absolutely right. He did have some boneheaded decisions, though, that ultimately cost him his job. One being Freddie Kitchens, another being Antonio Callaway.
His ego lost him.
His ego, yeah. Both. It was both.
You don't make those decisions. Every decision he made, other than that, he's not a moron. Well, he's definitely not a moron with how I'm going to describe this. He just did that because he wanted to keep his job, right? Right. You want to get a coach who believes in the same things you believed in. He wasn't on the same page in Kansas City, so he had to go. And I don't think they thought he was going to be on the same page with anybody else, because he was choosing people that he knew that weren't as smart as he was. Like, that's not what you want as a general manager.
You could control him.
Yeah, you want to be surrounded by people who are as smart as you, if not smarter, hopefully smarter. And he didn't want that, and so that's why he is where he's at. It's his own fault. It's his own doing. Freddie Kitchens was our head coach. That's all we need to say about that. Holy shit.
Yeah, what a debacle that was.
Yeah. We'll
have to see what happens with Clowney. Another thing that I'll touch on quickly with him is he was supposed to be here yesterday. This second meeting and a potential physical and deal was supposed to happen in Berea yesterday. Well, there was travel difficulties. There was a report out there. It was plane difficulties coming from, somebody thought he was in LA, and this is all speculation. He was in Will Fuller's Instagram story or Snapchat story in Miami. So if he missed his flight because he was out partying, would you still want to sign him, or is that just right away give you a bad taste of what he is all about?
Can we stop saying Houston is a bad franchise? Can we please, for the love of God, stop saying it? Many superstars have left there, right? And we found out after they left. So outside of DeAndre Hopkins, J.J. Watt, Clowney, and Deshaun Watson clearly not on the same page, and clearly maybe have some growing up to do. Maybe it's not just Houston's organization. Maybe they're getting superstar athletes who social media in the world makes them believe they're gods. It's hard to work with people like that sometimes. I'm not saying that was the case, but man, Houston continues to show us character flaws from major ones from some of these athletes, and we keep putting it on Houston like it's all Cal McNair's fault. Okay, Cal McNair ain't running around Texas with a lasso and doing some of the shit Deshaun Watson and all these people are doing. All right. Let's pump the brakes on Houston as an organization, because I watched the Browns struggle to make the playoffs for the last 20-something years. And I've watched Houston make the playoffs multiple times, and I watched them come in as a what? You want to say it for me, Mitch? Expansion team. They came in as an expansion team. Lord. Sorry. Had to rant there. Cal McNair, he's a good man. Read his Wikipedia page. Great guy.
All right, back to the question. I'm glad you ran it there. That was a good rant.
Thank you.
Does if Clowney missed because he
what was
missed
the
his
question?
There's reports that Clowney missed his flight because he was out partying.
Yeah. Well, no.
Does that leave a bad taste in your mind?
I answered the question. That was the question, right? That was the answer. I mean, Clowney's out doing stuff like this, and you just told me he was not on the same page with the Houston's organization, as well as many other athletes. No, not at all. Not at all. You get paid millions of dollars. Millions of dollars. I will gladly not party, make millions of dollars. No. I'm not a clown. I'm out on Clowney. I rather the Browns not. I'm completely out. Completely out.
Out on the clown. That's what he says. You mentioned the debacle. I think there might be another franchise that could have a debacle here in a couple weeks if things go the way that they're starting to trend. Jordan,
what's that?
Team a couple weeks ago decided to trade away a lot of picks and jump up into the top 3. A team that was 1 year removed from the Super Bowl and ultimately last year was a favorite before the turf monster got them in New York and, took 9 ACLs from all their players in back-to-back weeks. And then Jimmy Garoppolo got hurt. And then all of a sudden they just never were able to get things going in a COVID year.
Yep.
49ers, now 2 years removed from the Super Bowl. Now one of the best defenses that most people had seen, from start to finish. That defensive front was scary. That's about all you can say. Jordan, reports are that Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch are both on the same page of taking Mac Jones at number 3. Mac Jones, the Alabama quarterback. What do you have to say about this? If they take Mac Jones, does this make their team better? Does it make it worse? And is it a fireable offense?
Yeah, I mean, man, it's close to fireable offense if that's real. And I know there were reports of that already. There's more confirming that this is kind of what they want. Like, this is it. For a minute, I thought they were just doing that to kind of pull a fast one on some of these teams. But I guess it really is hard to pull a fast one. There's only 32 owners. They all know each other really well. General managers know each other. All of them know each other well. So they pretty much know. If you're a team within 4 picks of another team, you probably know who they're going after, right? So it's hard to pull a fast one. Oh man, Mitch, this is unique. This is very unique. Do you believe Mac Jones is, God, even a draft? Like, I look at Mac Jones and I wouldn't even draft Mac Jones. I wouldn't even draft him. I'm not a Mac Jones guy at all. I wouldn't even waste a pick on him, unless you're a really good team and you're getting him in the mid rounds, maybe 4th or 5th. And I don't think he's gonna start many games in the NFL, if any. I don't know how you feel about Mac Jones, but you watch his pro day?
Yeah, I watched his pro day.
Yeah, you got to be able to hit open guys in a pro day.
Yeah, especially when you have nobody in your face and you have no fans screaming and you have no 6'6", 285-pound men running at you trying to tear your head off. And you can't hit that throw.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm not high on Mac Jones at all. I've never been high on any Alabama quarterback, strictly because they get to play with all NFL-type talent around them. So when they go to a situation, now, yes, granted, San Francisco is a better situation than most teams in the top 5, top 10 this year. No doubt about that. Like I said, they were riddled with injuries last year. They're taking a chance. But what has Mac Jones shown you besides throwing slants to Devontae Smith, the Heisman winner, hitting Jalen Waddle, who's a freak of nature and is going to be an NFL quarterback, having a all NFL type offensive line blocking for you, Najee Harris, who's supposed to be a first round pick? Like, what has he done to impress you? Because he hasn't done anything to impress me. He is the definition of a system quarterback. That's what he's proven to be. That's why I'm still not high on Tua Tagovailoa. I've been vocal about it since day one. I think whether you say bust or not for where he was taken, he's not a franchise quarterback. He's not a top 15 quarterback. I don't think he ever will be. Alabama quarterbacks have the same stereotype that Ohio State quarterbacks do. But my issue with this comes with Justin Fields all of a sudden falling down draft boards. Jordan, 3 months ago, he played the game of his life before taking on what could be possibly the best team in college football history in Alabama.
Yeah.
But he had broken, bruised, whatever you want to say, ribs. Played the game of his life. Some college football analysts saying it was the best game that they went on Clemson. And now there's character questions about Justin Fields. There's rumors that he wasn't always the first one to the facility, and he wasn't always the last one. Well, I'll tell you what's a bigger character issue for me is 2 DUIs, which is what Mac Jones has.
Yeah.
So you tell me who has bigger character issues.
Well,
Didn't realize that you get brownie points if you're the first one to show up. Remember, and whether you want to agree with it or not, there's all the ways the people out there, well, they're student athletes. So cool. Okay. Maybe some of them actually do school. Maybe Justin Fields does do his schoolwork. Who knows? But don't come at me with this bullshit that all his character's dropping because he wasn't the first one in and the last one to leave. Mac Jones out here driving around drunk in Alabama, and he's just getting a free pass about it. And he's missing wide open guys. Fields has a phenomenal pro day. I can't believe Justin Fields is having a second pro day. Because if this is how high the 49ers are on Mac Jones, I would have said to hell with San Francisco. I won't play for you. Why? There's only a couple teams coming to this pro day, and the Niners are one of them. Screw that, man.
Well, they could have went to the first one. They could have went to the first one. On the same day Justin Fields had one, they went. Yeah, but they sent a scout. Here's the thing. Me and you haven't talked about this yet, period, even offline. I think this is a white and black thing. Why do we always question how smart a black quarterback is? Why are we always questioning how smart a black quarterback is opposed to because we never question that. I never see us question, oh man, that guy's not that smart. Can he play the position? Never if he's white. Ever.
You're right,
ever.
100%.
And not only that, Justin Fields is probably, and I don't know who I was telling this to the other day, I think he's better than Trevor Lawrence in terms of raw skill. I think if you drop Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields on a, let's say Jacksonville, we'll say Jacksonville because that's where Trevor Lawrence is probably going to go. I like Trevor Lawrence. I think Justin Fields needs somebody like Kyle Shanahan or what's his name out of L.A. I can't think of his name.
Sean McVay.
Sean McVay, somebody who really can refine his skills because his ceiling may be the highest we've ever seen. Doesn't he run like a 4.4 40? He's a quarterback.
Yeah, and he's not a small one either.
No, and he has probably the best arm in this whole draft. I think it's crazy that we're talking Mac Jones and Wilson from BYU.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
And even Trey Lance. This is absolutely crazy to me that we've gotten this far to where I know that I know how unpopular it's probably was to say what I just said, but I really believe it is a white and a black thing. And I don't say that about many things because when you say stuff like that, you better be damn sure that's what you really think. You know what I mean? I'm not just saying it to say it. But I think society still views it like that, and I think it's clear. I think it's pretty obvious. I mean, how many people trash Lamar Jackson all the time, and he's a former MVP. Now, I will critique his play as a thrower because he's a quarterback, but when people critique him, they just go after him. It's not about his inability to throw the ball. They go after so many. We need to get to a point where we can start evaluating people based on their play. Based on their play alone. And not get into this political game. It's weird. A guy who has 2 DUIs is not a guy I want to draft. In fact, that's not a guy I want in my locker room. Can you make mistakes? Can you get over them? Sure. I've made so many mistakes when I was 20, 21. I make mistakes every day, all the time. And I need grace. I want grace. But this is a business. I don't want him in my business. So
no. And I'm glad you brought up what you said because that brings me to Zack Wilson, who the New York Jets are going to take, and I'm going to laugh because it's going to set the New York Jets back again for 10 plus years, and I love it. I also hate it because then you have to listen to every national thing about what should the Jets do.
Yeah, that's true.
What games has Zack Wilson played in that's really skyrocketed him up since
Coastal Carolina?
No, I'm saying since the end of the season because remember, once the season ended, it was Lawrence, Fields, and then you had your interchangeable parts of Lance, Jones. Some people had Kyle Trask. Some people had Zack Wilson. So what games has Zack Wilson played in since the national championship that he didn't play in? Do you know? Because apparently he must be playing in these games that has skyrocketed him up the boards to be the consensus number 2 pick. Maybe it's because he's out there in Utah. Did we not get the games? Is it ESPN Plus thing? I don't pay for that. I don't know what it is. I do go to bed early, so if I missed it, just let me know. But I'm just wondering because for him to skyrocket out of nowhere, it means he would have had to done something impressive, right?
No, he couldn't elevate his team above Coastal Carolina. And I didn't know Coastal Carolina had a football team. So there's that. I, honest to God, had no idea they had a football team. No idea. Till this year.
So it's hilarious because I think what you said is 100% right. I think the race factor does come into it, and that's not fair. And if I'm Justin Fields, yes, the big thing you're losing out on, and I don't want to say the only thing, but because it does suck, is you're losing out on money by not being taken with the first pick and the second pick. Ultimately, the farther you slide down, the better position you find yourself in, team-wise and organization-wise, most of the time.
100? No. It's almost all the time, Mitch. You're right. You're definitely right. I mean, in that plays along with my theory of Mac Jones. Did he do that on his pro day on purpose? Does he not want to get drafted early? Would he rather be in a better situation? Because I just find it so hard to believe that, because I've watched a lot of Alabama games this year, and his pro day was probably the worst pro day I've ever watched for a quarterback. It was that bad.
It was bad.
It was bad. I mean, it was horrendous. It almost looked like it was on purpose. That's how bad it was. But, last week I said the Paul Pierce thing was on purpose too. And it turns out that Paul Pierce may just be that dumb. So who knows? Who knows?
Listen, Justin Fields is by far the second best quarterback. If you have him 1A, 1B with Lawrence, that's fine too. There's no way in hell he is a third, fourth, fifth best quarterback in this draft. If you think Mac Jones is better, you're high. Or actually, if you think Mac Jones is better, this is what Stephen A would say to you.
Who was on crack?
I mean, you're on crack.
It's not that far off.
You think Trey Lance is better, you're on crack. And if you think Zack Wilson's better because of all the games he's played since Ohio State throttled Clemson and then lost the national championship, which by my count, it's carry the 4. Zero games he's played since January 6th or whatever. He's not better than Justin Fields. And I can't wait for the New York Jets to suck for so much longer. And I don't know where Fields is going to go. I hope it's to an NFC team because I don't want him to be in this loaded AFC that we've talked about now for months.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of people who think he could go to Denver, which is just great because Denver has good wide receivers. Denver has some solid running back in Melvin Gordon. So yeah, that would be great. But I really wanted to bring it up because the Niners were hot because they made that trade to get up there. And now it's looking like they want Mac Jones. And it could all be a smoke screen like we know teams have done before. But every day that goes by, it doesn't seem like it's a smoke screen. So we'll have to see how long Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch are going to be there. But
a while, because they're both really good. I'm telling you, they get Justin Fields, say it is a smoke screen, they're going to win a Super Bowl in the next decade together. Like, Justin Fields will win a Super Bowl with Kyle Shanahan if he goes there.
I agree. But if they don't, they take Mac Jones, who turns out to be a certified bum, like I think he will be. That is a fireable offense. If you wasted not only this year's, we'll say mortgage, as some people say, but the next year's and the year after for picks to get up that high, for it to be nothing, equate to nothing, you actually turn out to be worse than what you were, that's a fireable offense. I don't care if John Lynch is a Hall of Famer as a player or not. I don't care if him and Shanahan just took the 49ers to a Super Bowl. You essentially just disrupted what you had built. And for that reason, you would deserve to be fired.
Well, and they could get fired. Let's not act like this isn't something we've seen before. I mean, Doug Peterson won a Super Bowl not too long in Philly. His ass is out of there. Winning a Super Bowl just isn't enough. You need continued success. It is in this league. It is a what have you done for me lately type of league. Most leagues are like that, but yeah, it should be. And you're right.
Jordan, before we get to the NBA, I think we should just get through some of the headlines we have for this afternoon.
Let's get through them. Yeah.
All right. Well, first we'll stay in the NFL, and we'll stay with running backs right now.
Ooh,
so,
okay.
To my surprise today, did not know James Conner was a free agent for the Steelers, but James Conner signed with the Arizona Cardinals.
No way.
So on a 1-year deal, the Steelers now lose their running back, and their depleted offensive line has multiple people asking, what will they do in the draft? I hope they take a running back.
When did that happen?
Today.
Okay, so that's why I missed that. All right.
Yeah. Cardinals sign ex-Steelers running back James Conner. Wow. 1-year deal to replace Kenyon Drake, who took off from there. I think he went to Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
Tana back there, and Pittsburgh gets screwed again, which you just love to see. I love it.
You just love to see it. You love to see it.
I have no I hope other things happen to them. I hope they just suck, like continuously, forever and ever and ever.
I feel you with that. I second that. I don't think it's going to happen, but
we'll have to wait and see. We'll talk about another running back, though. We'll talk about our own running back, 2-time Pro Bowl running back Nick Chubb, Jordan, is releasing his own cereal called Chubb Crunch. Will you try it?
I'll try anything Nick Chubb asked me to try. Are you kidding me? Nick Chubb? My God. I love me some Nick Chubb. That's it. I don't even need to know what flavor the cereal is. I'll eat it with a blindfold on. Blind taste test.
Well, he announced today that the partnership with PLB Sports Entertainment, they were the creators of Flutie Flakes. You know, remember Doug Flutie? Mm-hmm. They will launch Chubb Crunch cereal in the fall of this year, 2021. The cereal will be available online and locally in Cleveland at Heinen's grocery stores. So, Jordan, I'll make sure to grab some of those for you.
Thank you.
And maybe we'll get a couple boxes, maybe give one away to somebody in the ball pit. Who knows? That's kind of far away. That's kind of far away.
Ooh.
Jordan, back to the big topic we opened the show with. White Claw. Let's come out with a new drink. White Claw Surge. They announced today their new sub-brand called Surge that steps the alcohol percentage up from 5% in a regular White Claw to 8%. Their first 2 flavors will be cranberry and blood orange. How excited are you?
Pretty excited. Big White Claw guy. Big White Claw guy. I said at the beginning of the show. I say it every episode, frankly. I'm surprised they haven't sponsored us yet. Maybe one day. Those 2 flavors are as good. I'm just glad they didn't have one of the flavors be peach, because I hate peach. Hate peach flavored stuff. Not a peach guy. Do not like peaches. Do not ever give me peaches. Ever.
Really noted.
Yeah.
Unless you guys want to piss them off, then maybe get some peaches. Wouldn't be, Oh, I wasn't muted. Sorry. Sorry. Thought I was talking to people out there in the chat. Jordan.
Yeah.
It's a very day. I don't know if you know this, but 5 years ago today, the Golden State Warriors became the first team in NBA history to win 73 games in the regular season.
Oh, yeah.
Really cool. Really cool. I mean, they surely, with a record like that, you would have had to, they won it all, right?
I think so. Let me check. No, they didn't. They
here,
didn't win.
Let me check. Hold on. Let me see. Does this?
Cleveland! This is for you! Oh!
Was that Andre Miller from the Cavs?
I see. I thought it was Harrison Barnes.
Is that Harrison Barnes?
I don't.
That's
Hold on. Wait. I had this one maybe. Who's James? I didn't know James played for the Warriors. That's weird. Oh, anyway, apparently we can't find the results, but surely a team that wins 73 games in the regular season would have had to have won the finals.
They probably
right?
did.
Yeah, there's no way they lost.
No. Sucks to suck.
Imagine having that record and no championship to go with. Couldn't be us.
Couldn't be us. Nope.
Bums. And Draymond had to go cry in a parking lot like a little baby to get the softest player in NBA history and Kevin Durant to come join him.
Word has it that he didn't actually cry. They came out in a podcast not too long ago. Not that anybody cares. Maybe they do care, actually. Draymond went on KD's podcast not too long ago.
And word has it, if my grandma had a pair of nuts, she would have been my grandpa. That's what the word on the street is. So we'll see how that, yeah.
Plot twist.
Yeah. Draymond Green went and cried in a parking lot to get Kevin Durant. And now Kevin Durant's still crying because he can't justify it. I mean, we saw him today go after Shannon Sharp.
I have no idea what it was. All I saw was Shannon Sharp versus Kevin Durant. That's all I saw. I haven't heard anything about this. Enlighten me and enlighten everybody in the ball pit, please.
Sharp got a hold of a quote that was an obvious fake quote, and he read it on, Undisputed today.
Okay.
And Kevin Durant saw it. Kevin Durant, immediately goes to Twitter because, like all weak-minded people do, aka weak-minded people of Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, immediately goes to Twitter, tweets at Shannon Sharp.
Yeah.
And Shannon replies that, we'll handle this like men. I'm not going to argue with you on social media. Kevin Durant said, no, you do a TV show, blah, 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 like you do it in front of the people. And Shannon Sharp said, nope, whatever, get healthy and finish out the season strong, and then block Kevin Durant. And then Kevin Durant's still out here complaining about it. It's like, Kevin, we know you just go hop on one of your 14 burner accounts and just start tweeting at him because we know that's what you're
paying attention.
Because he has nothing better to do, because he is one of the weakest minded mentally individuals when it comes to an athlete. And I've been saying it for weeks now. This man can't take any criticism. I'm still shocked he didn't come back at me a few weeks on Twitter when I posted our thumbnail for the show about a prima donna. I'm still shocked. Like, I'm waiting for him to slide in my DMs at one point and get all butthurt about it because he's a soft bitch. That's all he is.
He is pretty soft.
I'll tell him that. I would tell him that to his face.
I wouldn't. I mean, I'm not a Kevin Durant fan. But I do most of my decisions, daily decisions, bitch, I base off of, what's in Jordan's best interest, and getting my ass beat by Kevin Durant in person, not in my best interest. I will be a keyboard warrior, and I will own my role. But I would never say that to a man of that magnitude. By the way, who wins in a fight, Shannon Sharp or Kevin Durant? I got Shannon Sharp for sure.
Shannon Sharp. And people are going to say, well, Kevin Durant has the reach. Cool. Kevin Durant can't bench press the bar.
Or put a cap back on the top of a jar. So
yeah, you know what? That punch that Kevin Durant's going to hit Shannon Sharp with is going to be like this. Ooh, ooh.
Sometimes slaps hurt worse than punches. I will say that. And I know somebody in the ball pit can second that. I've been slapped before. I'd rather get punched for sure.
Hey, look, do you want to fight Kevin Durant now? Big Mike coming in saying he has your back if you fight Kevin Durant. I think this is all but makes it out to say Kevin Durant.
Thanks, Uncle Mike.
Let us know. We'll stream the fight live on our page here on the Cover Your Balls page. You can fight either Jordan or I or both. But like, we're talking physical. We're not talking, Twitter fingers or trigger, whatever they call it in the Drake song. I don't know. I'm going blank here. We're talking about an actual physical altercation. We know you're not like that. Yep. You're not quote unquote built different. In fact, the only way you're built different is that you're a baby back bitch.
Can I say something? Because we haven't. I don't know if we're going to talk about this because me and you haven't. Me and you. The best thing about this show that me and you started is that sometimes we don't even talk about some of the things we're going to talk about. And we do that because we want to get each other's real reaction.
Yeah.
Did you see what else Kevin Durant's been doing?
I have not.
Oh, okay. That's all I had. If you don't know, we don't have to talk about it. Keep going with the headlines.
I feel like that's way more important. I really didn't have many headlines today. It's been pretty quiet week. We talked about some big storylines. So, I mean, if you want to enlighten me on that,
I would love to if I could remember what I was going to say. It's actually a really big deal too. But I'm sure I'll remember it by the time we get to the NBA segment, which is
coming up right now, and not a headline, but a statement. Apparently, Kyrie Irving is now the most highest paid employee for the most paid time off taken now in the world, because yet again, he's taking another game off. So Kyrie Irving, just apparently you have unlimited paid time off hours in the NBA. Sign me up for that. I'd love that.
He's the only player that has to give no explanation for where he's at.
Yeah,
right?
None.
You see a picture with him and his family and his sister at SeaWorld. I'm just like, well, I needed a day off. Well, we needed you. We were playing the Lakers the other night. Shamu playing the Lakers.
Shamu.
Always Shamu, right?
Yeah. Favorite animal, whales. Well, that was a pretty skimpy afternoon headline. So everybody out in the ball pit, go ahead and roast me again. I haven't been roasted for a while. Kind of shocked. I'm not sure if Sam Summers, our key contributor. He as he referred, he'd like to be called a utility infielder after Yu Chang's mistake last night for the Indians. I'm not sure you want to be a utility infielder. But let's talk about the Lakers. Let's talk about that game that happened this past weekend. The game in which the Lakers stood absolutely no chance. I didn't watch because I'm sure the Nets were already up 20 after tip. Can you tell me how that game ended?
Yeah. They lost by 24, and I sat here last Tuesday or Thursday, and I think it was Thursday, and talked about how the Lakers were going to lose by like 30. And then 8 guys go in double digits for the Lakers that aren't LeBron or AD.
Or your man Kyle Kuzma.
Yeah, by the way, Andre Drummond's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
And
people forget how great he was playing before the Cavs just said, hey, we're going to pay you $28 million to not play. Imagine doing that. Say, we'll give you $28 million to never do your job.
It's a Cleveland thing to do. We paid a
really
baseball player like $100 million. He never played. His name's Nick Swisher.
OH, man.
I know. You know it. He played for Ohio State.
Nick Swisher Field, baby.
That's why. Okay, I swore it had to be him because it's only a mile and a half from. That's not a mile and a half. Probably 1.2 miles from where I'm at right now. Nick Swisher Field. I didn't know if it was him though. Because I've seen interviews with him. I can never imagine somebody naming a field after him. He's a goofball.
He was a great player at Ohio State.
Oh, I'm sure he was. I mean, if he's a Buckeye, I rock with it. I had no idea though. No idea. Buckeye,
and then stole money from the city of Cleveland and the poor franchise we have up there on the corner of Carnegie, Ontario. But that's okay. Mm-hmm. Back to the Lakers and Nets. Jordan, listen, I don't think anybody in their right mind saw the Lakers blowing out the Nets in Brooklyn without Kuzma, AD, LeBron. Does this change your opinion at all? Like, does this worry you if you're a Brooklyn Nets fan? And does this maybe make everybody realize maybe the Nets aren't all we thought they were?
Yeah. So, here's the thing about our opinions. They can evolve. The first time Brooklyn was being assembled, I put out a tweet that said something like this. If you've ever watched basketball before, you know that acquiring KD and Kyrie Irving does not land you an automatic title. It takes role players. It takes chemistry. It takes leadership. It takes a lot of things to have success, and not just success, to win an NBA championship, right? So they went out and they got LaMarcus Aldridge, and they went out and they got Blake Griffin.
Yeah.
But the problem with that is I'm pretty sure James Harden, KD, and Kyrie have only played 7 games with each other. And I don't think anybody on the Nets actually knows their role. The Andre Drummond thing made a lot of sense because their head coach loves bigs. Roy Hibbert thrived in Indiana with Frank Vogel, and now he has Andre Drummond. Now that I've had more time to think about it and digest it, in looking over the standings, if Brooklyn ends up being this, they have to get the 1 seed away from Philly, because if they don't, they're going to play a big in Giannis, right, in the conference semifinals. If they get to the conference finals, they would have to play Joel Embiid, and I know that you're not a big Philly guy, but they've won enough games to get some respect, I think, now. Joel Embiid, I think last night was 10 for 17 from the field, 37 points. He'll be a problem for Brooklyn. I'm only concerned about Brooklyn because they haven't played together and because of Kyrie. He's a time bomb. And as the team evolved and added players, I put more stock in Brooklyn. But now that I've really had a chance to digest it a little more, I think I definitely overvalued them. I still think they're the team to beat in the East, but they will not go near undefeated in the playoffs. And I still like the Lakers out in the West. I still like that meeting to happen overall.
I think you're right. And I think there are a lot of people out there that when the Lakers signed Drummond, well, how's he going to work with AD, down there? Listen, when LeBron James is the coach of your team, the general manager of your team, and the point guard of your team.
Good point.
It's going to work.
Good point.
All right. Andre Drummond can do whatever the hell he wants to do against that Brooklyn Nets front court whenever he wants. And guess what? If he gets in foul trouble, or maybe he's not feeling it, some guys don't feel it every night. Then the guy Anthony Davis can do the exact same thing plus more.
Mm-hmm.
It's a matchup nightmare that we've been able to see now. And listen, he might not be what we thought he was. He may have been playing extremely bad this year. But if you're telling me Marc Gasol is the 10th guy off the bench, guy who's played in the playoffs before, and Brooklyn has who to match up with him? Oh, nobody. That's still going to be effective for the Lakers. He's not at all what they thought he would be. Even what you and I thought he would be. I mean, I remember doing the preview show. We were really high on it, and he's turned out to suck. I mean, that's all there is to it.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of elements involved with it. But yeah, he hasn't been great.
No,
say it lightly. He has not been great.
And listen, you said if the Nets don't get the number 1 pick, that means they have the potential to run into Giannis and the Bucks, which I still sit here and I think that the Nets will take care of the Bucks. That's one team that people think they can beat the Nets. I don't. But then they would run into Joel Embiid, and they have no answer for him. It's not DeAndre Jordan. And I'm still very high in the Miami Heat. Bam Adebayo, who's stopping him? They just have no low post presence.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to backfire on them. What are you going to do? Put Blake Griffin or LaMarcus Aldridge on Bam Adebayo? That's not going to stop him. And listen, I still think they're the favorites. I think they're the runaway favorites in the East. Too much firepower, but we're going to have to see if they can mesh well now over the next 6 to 8 weeks before the playoffs start.
I mean, it's coming really quick. It's really
quick. And they haven't played, what did I see, 7 games total that the big three has played together?
Yeah.
And now you have to incorporate Blake Griffin and LaMarcus Aldridge. There's a lot of things that could go wrong, and it might go wrong, not to mention they have a first-year head coach.
Yeah,
maybe it'd be a little bit different if it was, I'm not going to say Doc Rivers because they would just get to the championship and then blow a 3-1 lead like he always does. Maybe it would be different if it's a Greg Popovich team. Mm-hmm. You know what if you had a certified great head coach, not a coach that blows 3-1 leads like Doc Rivers. Okay, I'm off that. It would be different. But all of a sudden, just watching that and seeing all the backups do it, Jordan, like it's not like LeBron had a 14 assist game and got everyone involved. It's not like AD was superhuman and had a 20-20 game. No, Dennis Schroeder and Horton Tucker and KCP were in double digits beating the runaway title favorites. If you're a Brooklyn Nets fan, stop sitting here and kidding yourself. You're worried, and you should be. You still can be the favorite to win it all. You can still be the runaway favorite in the East. But if you're not worried, the greatest basketball player on the planet, and no matter where you rank them, we'll say top 10 for some people's sake. Some people have them top 5. We're both out, and their third best role player, fourth now with Drummond, didn't play. I would be worried, and you should be. Look, the Lakers took it to them, and it was a big win for them too. I think that's a huge confidence booster for a team that was kind of struggling Jordan, we said
It was a great win.
Lakers had the chance to just fall out. The bottom falls out, and they did something nobody saw coming.
Yeah, they did do something nobody saw coming. Also, side note, I didn't want to interrupt you there, but doesn't Andre Drummond look like he has the same like physique as one of the Monstars had in the first Space Jam? I'm pretty sure it's the Patrick. It's in between the purple and Patrick Ewing. He literally has the frame of a Monstar. He's a terrifying guy to try to deal with on the court. Absolutely terrifying. I did see something out there in the ball pit. Bodie Martin said Celtics will come out of the East, Lakers West. I'm telling you, Bodie, that was my pick to come out of the East at the beginning of the year. Not going to lie to you. I don't know if that team could navigate themselves out of the arena given a tough time frame to do it. Like, if I said, I need you to exit the building and get to your car, I don't know if the team could successfully do that together. It's the most confusing thing I've ever seen in my entire life, the Boston Celtics.
They're in the play-in tournament right now. They're not even, they're in the playoffs, but they'd be in the play-in tournament now.
Can we address the play-in tournament? How dumb is that?
I wanted to address that. Thank you.
You play 72 games to play in some games? Why did we play 72 games if we have to play in some games?
You know why?
What? Why, man?
Because the NBA wants money. That's all it is. They just want more money, more playoff ads on the box thing at the bottom and the corner and the court. That's all they want.
But this can lose you money. This can destroy your bottom line. There are a lot of teams, 6 through 8 right now, that if they don't make the playoffs, it's a big deal. The Boston market, they're an 8th seed. They could seriously not make the playoffs. And for those who are like, well, come on, don't make the playoffs. Okay, show me. What evidence you got for me that the Celtics are definitely going to make the playoffs? What evidence? Okay? I look like a schmuck, a fool. I've been bamboozled. Like, God, I finally rock with a Boston team for a second, and I just get trampled by a whole bunch of leprechauns. This is just crazy. It's worse than Leprechaun in the Hood, and I'm never, ever putting stock into Boston again. Brad Stevens, what the hell, man? God. See what you did, Bodie?
I was going to say, Bodie, he's been waiting on the Celtics to turn around for about the past 2 months now, and they still haven't figured it out. As they currently sit at 28-26. And yes, they are behind the Atlanta Hawks, who I dogged at the beginning of the season. It's still time for the bottom to fall out there.
Not even progress.
Miami Heat, who just decided they were one of the worst teams to start out this year. COVID injuries, and now the Miami Heat are back in the top 5. Mm-hmm. The Charlotte Hornets, who rookie of the year sensation, would be rookie of the year if he's healthy. Mm-hmm. LaMelo Ball hasn't played in over a month, and they're still ahead of the Celtics. So you're right. The Celtics can't get out of their own way. But yeah, so this play-in tournament, Jordan, I hop to the West now. The Dallas Mavericks right now would be in the play-in tournament if it starts.
Yeah.
Luka Doncic said he hates the idea. Mark Cuban piggybacked off him, backed up his player.
Of course.
Mark Cuban, the owner of the Mavericks, said it is stupid. It is a stupid idea. Right. And so here's how it works. The Mavericks are the 7 seed. They would play the 10 seed, who are the Warriors. The Mavericks would need to win one time to advance to the actual, first round of the playoffs. The Warriors would have to beat the Mavericks twice. So then the 8 and 9 in the West are the Grizzlies at 8, Spurs at 9. Grizzlies have to win once. Spurs have to win twice. Jordan, it is stupid. It really is. And we don't need to talk about the teams that are there and who would play right now, because it's going to change. I mean, there's a high possibility that the Celtics aren't in it. The Celtics could get to the 4 seed because they really are only 1 game back of the 4 seed in the East, or they could easily miss it. But let's not talk about that. Let's make this more interesting for us and talk about our Cavs.
Okay.
Our Cavs are 3 games back of the Bulls for the 10 seed.
And 3 games back of the over-under for the season, which is 22, I believe. 22 and a half or 22?
22 and a half. And
22 and a half. So 3.5.
4 games back at 19 wins on the year. I'm sorry, 5 wins back of the worst record in the NBA. So, Jordan, I pose this question to you now.
Oh, man. I did research on this. Didn't even know you were going to ask me this question.
Do you want the Cavs to win and make the play-in tournament, or would you rather the Cavs put everybody to rest and increase their chances of going to get a Cade Cunningham type player who, according to an NBA scout today, is the most surefire number one pick and has the potential to be one of the best cornerstone franchise players. Yes, bigger than Zion Williamson, bigger than guys we've seen in recent years. Has that type of potential to affect a franchise. What do you want them to do versus what do you think they'll do?
Okay, so earlier today, what I went back and looked at was all the Cavs draft picks ever. All their first round picks. The reason I did that was because I wanted to think, I wanted to pose the question, do the Cavs need to rebuild or not? And you asked me the question, do the Cavs need to rebuild or not? Here's the deal. If you look around the league, a lot of the teams that are at the top, they necessarily didn't draft the players that are on their team, the superstars. If you look back at a lot of the players the Cavs have drafted, they haven't done a great job. I think that's to say it lightly, but
I was going to say, you're being nice.
But the NBA has changed so much. I mean, so much. And Jordan, what do you mean? That's probably what you're asking right now.
Jordan, what do you mean?
Thanks, Mitch. Sitting here talking in the third person like a tool. Back in the 80s, the Cavs had a really good team. In fact, they almost beat the Bulls in, what year was that? 93? Or was it 95? I forget what year. They had Ron Harper. This will get to my point. All the players that played on the Cavs then were basically drafted by the Cavs. Brad Doherty, Ron Harper. They were actually two guys in the same draft. Here's a fact. Charles Oakley, was drafted by the Cavs and traded to the Bulls. Hot Rod Williams. A lot of the starters the Cavs had back in the day, they drafted. That is not the case anymore because NBA is different. And talent is spread out everywhere. Overseas, G League, college, different. Sam in the comments was 69. It's very different. I would like the Cavs to obviously rebuild, but trade away a lot of the players they have now and just collect collect pieces, just collect draft picks and collect money for free agency. Because honest to God, the only way the Cavs are going to ever have success again in this type of market where the big markets are always at an advantage is to figure out a way to attract players to Cleveland. Because sadly, Mitch, I think Cleveland has a better I think they have better odds to attract people to the city of Cleveland than they actually have of drafting and keeping players. One, because there's not that many superstars you can draft, and you have to have the first pick on a specific year to get somebody who can really turn a franchise around. And once you draft them, you got to keep them. Have you talked to OKC lately? They can't keep anybody down there. You know what I mean? So I don't know if the Cavs will ever be good again. I bought a lot of Cavs apparel in the last couple of months. I didn't buy it because I thought we'd be good. I bought it because I wanted some Cavs apparel. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't know if it matters what the Cavs do. I don't know if they'll ever be good again. But if they want to attempt to do the right thing, I think that is to get picks, stack some money up, and go after some big dogs. But I don't know if Dan Gilbert would even take a boatload of cash and go after everybody. So, like Sam said, in the comments and on the screen, Cavs are doomed forever. That's for sure. Sam, you're 100% right.
Yeah, and because he's right, I just hope they lose out. I really do. I don't know why people are so enamored. Oh, but we could make the play-in tournament. It's good for the guys' mentality. Screw that. What you get? You know what that is? That's
NIT. That's the NIT tournament.
Trophy. You're getting a little ribbon that says, I participated in the NBA play-in tournament because we suck and can't make the playoffs outright. That's what it is. No, I don't want my team anywhere near that. Like, there are 5 good players. There's one superstar in Cade Cunningham who I absolutely love. There's also 4 other good players. They're saying if you have a top 5 pick this year, you're going to get a bona fide star. Mm-hmm. Why? It would be so Cleveland for us to screw this up. It would be so Cleveland for us to hop in the play-in tournament. And not only that, they'll probably win it somehow and get a first-round matchup to the Nets and then get swept 4-0. But we beat them already. It'll be good. No, it won't. You guys just need to stop, get out of your own way. This team is not good. They're not going to be good. We got Kevin Love still here, and I love Kevin Love, and I'm finally at the point where it's like, okay,
I forgot.
trade him. Like, get him out of here. Go put him on a contending team, because this dude has won.
Forgot.
This dude hasn't won a combined 82 games since LeBron James has left in 3-4 years. It's I don't understand why people are so enamored with make the play-in tournament. No, screw you. Why? Yeah, let's make the play-in tournament. Go get the 13th pick in the draft. Let's take Dwayne Washington from Ohio State, because I'm sure that one will go great. Mr. ISO ball James Harden Jr. looking ass. I mean, my goodness, he's just going to say screw every play call they put out there and go shoot the ball. He does at Ohio State. It's just no, lose out. I don't want to hit the over of 21.5 wins, 22.5 wins.
Doesn't that hurt you as a competitor to say that out loud, though? It kills me to say no. Anytime we're talking about losing as our main option, hey, what are you having for dinner? I'm going to go lose. Like, that's their I don't want that. I don't want to lose. Like, I don't mind losing because we're just not good enough. I don't want to voluntarily get my ass kicked. I've never done that in my life. I never want to do that. I can't believe you can say that with such confidence.
By you doing that, though, it saves you from getting your ass kicked year in and year out for the next 4 or 5 years. You're going to get a good player that's going to help this team. That's why I want them to lose out. I don't want to sit here and watch this.
Possibly, if you're lucky. If you're lucky, you'll get a player, though. If you're lucky.
Right. If you're lucky.
You know what 100% is certain? If you do reset, which I still think they should, and I think you're right, by the way, they are going to alienate everybody in that locker room. And who wants to play for an organization in front office that would rather lose than win? These players don't want to lose. Make no mistake about it. No player ever is out there trying to tank.
Jadeveon does.
Well, you know, I don't. Oh God, Chetty Osman. You said it really relaxed and really too cool for me is really what it is. Because I know you're a very, very competitive person, incredibly competitive.
Very.
And I can't believe that you could just say it like that. Wouldn't you? Don't we? Can we just have let's hope that the Cavs play hard and they just lose. I don't want to.
Yeah. Oh, I'm not saying go out there and get beat by. Get embarrassed and be down 30-some points. Like
you're trying to be Uncle Phil in the pool hall right now. I see what you're trying to do.
Hey,
do you remember that episode of Fresh Prince? You know what I'm talking about?
I know which episode you're talking about, but hey, just cover. Listen, if you're 8.5-point dogs, lose by 3. Win Sam Summers some money on his bets and his parlays, but still lose so we get a good draft pick. Because I'm tired of watching one of our 2 guards going off when the other one's out. But when they're both in the court, we don't know how to play together, because that's what it is. And they're going to have a really good game tomorrow night because I said that. And everyone's going to come at me again like it happened last time when I roasted the Cavs against the Hawks. But it just, I'm tired of it. Lose. Cover, but lose. I'm not saying lose by 40 points, but I don't want my basketball team anywhere near this play-in tournament because you're going to lose. Like, let me put it this way. Jordan, you want the team to make the play-in tournament. Okay. Well, does your team have a legit shot to win the NBA championship?
Well, no.
Why do you even want the playoffs if you're not going to go win the whole damn thing?
All right, Tom Donahue. Let's just throw every game, Tom Donahue. How about that? There it is. Well, that's what you're saying. You're saying the line's 8.5. Let's lose by 3. That sounds like you're throwing a game to me.
Does it put money in my pocket? Does it make me a happy man? And I also get to watch bad basketball for a little bit? Yeah. So it sounds like a win-win-win.
All right.
It sounds. But you know who isn't winning?
Who?
Regardless of who he bets on.
Who?
Any Denver Nuggets fan and Jamal Murray.
That crushed me, man. That crushed me.
Star point guard Jamal Murray has been confirmed out for the rest of the year with a torn ACL he suffered last night in the loss to the Warriors. They played the Warriors. I don't know if I was shooting from the hip.
Yeah.
Jordan, the Denver Nuggets, as we record episode 41 right now, live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Spotify, Apple. And if you haven't subscribed to us yet, you're going to subscribe right now. You're going to like this, and then you're going to go follow us on Twitter.
Please.
But the Denver Nuggets sit at 4th in the Western Conference standings. They have moved above the Lakers, who I said, had dropped some games before throttling the Nets. What does this mean for the Denver Nuggets? Do they have any shot with still what people are saying is one of the top 3 MVP candidates in the Joker? Mm-hmm. Or is this team now destined 34-20. They are 4.5 games up on the 7th seed Mavericks to avoid the play-in tournament. Does this team still make the playoffs? Do they make the play-in tournament, or do they all out just miss it now?
Yeah, I think they'll definitely make the playoffs. I mean, they're still they're definitely still better than the Warriors. They're better than a lot of the teams that are at the bottom in the West. But what they aren't now is they don't have that ability to do what they did in the postseason last year, which is steal a lot of games. The Clippers were better than Denver last year, but Jamal Murray, if he gets hot and the Joker's hot, they're as good as most teams, if not almost every team in the NBA. I mean, that is a lethal combination. I mean, we watched Jamal Murray go off for 50 multiple times in the playoffs last year. Jamal Murray's the real deal. And here's the kicker about Jamal Murray. The bigger the stage, the bigger Jamal Murray is. That's the guy I want on my team. In clutch time, I want a guy who wants to take the shot. And he's also an awesome teammate. It took them from a title contender, definitely an outside title contender. And if you don't think they were an outside title contender, then I don't know what to tell you. But I think they were. I think they were. Obviously not anymore. It kills me every time I watch an athlete get hurt. I've been hurt so many times with so many different things, and I've torn my Achilles before. So not ruptured, but I have torn it. So. Oh, no, his isn't Achilles. This is ACL. That's right. Either way, ACL. An injury is an injury, and it sucks. Bottom line. I think they make the playoffs, though, Mitch. You think they make the playoffs still?
I do. Listen, they're 34-20. For them to miss the playoffs and the play-in tournament completely, the Warriors are 2 games under 500, and the Nuggets are 14 games above 500. It would take a monumental collapse.
And there's 30 games left.
Yeah, a monumental collapse. So basically what you're saying there is Golden State would pretty much have to play perfect basketball.
No, they would.
Because those teams are going to play again too. So they need to play perfect basketball in order for the Nuggets to miss. I still think
they have to lose every game. Keep going.
Pretty much. Yep. I think that team will make the playoffs. I still think they're a threat depending on the matchup. Now, if they match up with right now, they'd actually play the Lakers, so their season would be done very quickly. If they somehow moved up or moved down, I think they can give anybody in the West a series for the most part, but I don't see them winning now. I mean, you take your ball handler, you take a guy who rises to the occasion, like you said we saw last year in the bubble, and you take another guy that can draw the defense off of Nikola Jokic, and that's ultimately going to hurt him. And I don't think that it's fair that people are going to say, oh, he's not the MVP anymore because his team's struggling. It's going to just allow teams to focus on him so much more. That being Jokic. So it's a tough blow for the Nuggets. Luckily, with where science is at today, Jamal Murray, you'd think, would hopefully be back right near the start of the NBA season next year. I mean, we're so used to seeing ACL injury. Oh, you're out for a good 12 to 14 months. We see some guys now that they're back in 7 months. Like it's crazy. So we'll see what happens. But ultimately, Jordan, I think they make the playoffs still. And I do feel bad because that's a fun team to watch. That's a team that nobody really talks about. Yeah. And I think it's partially because where we're located and they're out west, but Nuggets are a fun team and hope the best for Jamal Murray, who I really like as a basketball player, but we'll have to see what Denver does.
Yeah, we will.
And speaking of Denver, I think that since we're on the topic of Denver, I think I need to get something off my chest.
Okay.
And I'm a big baseball guy, but I'm sticking up for a lot of people right now because the Colorado Rockies have offended a lot of people. And I'm not here for it anymore. I think that the Colorado Rockies need to take a step back and reevaluate their team name because of the people that they're insulting, the other mountain ranges they're insulting. And it's just ridiculous that the Cleveland Indians have to change their name because it's of a certain nationality. It's offensive. But we still have the Smoky Mountains and we still have the Appalachian Mountains, but the Colorado Rocky, like the Rocky Mountains aren't the only mountain group out there. And I'm not here for it anymore. I will not stand this. And there's a lot of other MLB teams that I think need to be canceled, Jordan.
Well, Mitch, you brought something up that I haven't really thought of before. I guess I haven't thought of that. It's a great point. I guess Colorado's going to really have to think about that name. That's not a. I can't believe you just did that. That was pretty good. Well done. Well done, sir.
Thank you.
Well done.
And Sam isn't on the show today, and we hope he's on the show Thursday. I will be out. I will be out on assignment for the next 2 shows, but I know Sam would want me to stick up, and I think the Tampa Bay Rays are another team that really needs to evaluate themselves, because a Ray is what killed Steve Irwin. So not only are you saying you don't care about Steve Irwin, you're actually promoting a murderer in a Ray. And that's just also offensive. And I'm just not here for it. If the Cleveland Indians have to change their name because it's offensive, why the hell should the Tampa Bay Rays be able to go around with a Ray that literally killed a person as their mascot or as their team logo? And don't even get me started on the Minnesota Twins. I'm offended because I'm not a twin. Are you a twin?
Oh, my God.
And what if you're a triplet? Wouldn't you be offended by that? And I actually have a good friend, listener of the show, Jason. He's offended by the Oakland Athletics because he has no athletic ability, he says. And for them to assume that you're athletic, first off, that's assuming something, which in today's world, that's not okay, Jordan. You can't assume anything nowadays. And then for you to insist, like, it deserves to be canceled that the Oakland Athletics are a team name and you assume that they're athletic. It's just, it's not okay. And I'm not here for it. There's so many other teams that we can go around, and don't even get me started with the team the Cleveland Indians are playing right now. I can't even say their name. It's so disgusting.
Who are they playing?
I can't even say it is D's favorite team. I can't say the name.
The White Sox?
Yes. You want to talk about people complaining that the Indians are racist. The White Sox. Now you've really triggered me. I can't even talk about that one or the team in Boston. You want to talk about insensitive groups of people in a league that's insensitive to all the viewers and fans out there. They need to get a grip. Look, there's Steve Irwin. My goodness, there he is. And I know Sam is probably tearing up right now because that was one of his favorite heroes. And growing up, that was one of the favorite people he loved watching. The Crocodile Hunter, as did I. But
can I ask you a question, Mitch?
Yeah.
Is he showing how long the stingray was? Is that what he's doing right there with his hands? Hold on, we'll go back there for a second. Is that what he's doing? No? Is that a no? Is that a yes?
I don't know.
Is he a referee? Is it like fourth in a long yard?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know.
Sam said, crikey. I really needed to, as you can see.
Google's a hell of a machine. You know how quick that took me to Google that and steal someone's photo? Not long. Didn't take me very long.
But listen, all I have to say before we head on to our last segment is I think that if the Cleveland Indians need to change their name because some people find it offensive and non-inclusive, then the MLB really needs to look at all the other team names, because I don't think I brought up a team name that I wasn't right on tonight. Especially like we cancel people for so many things nowadays. And I just go right back to the Bay, the Oakland Athletics. You assume someone's athletic. It's just that's not okay in 2021. That should be canceled immediately. And there's just, you're lucky we only had this much time. And actually, one more. Let's go back to Florida. The Florida Marlins. The Florida Marlins. Like, you're not even including all the other fish there are in the world. Like, it's just, oh man.
Well,
really upsets me. Really upsets me.
You know, it's a problem when you've dedicated time to going through your names, to find out what you found out. Because think about all the things that have been canceled this year. I mean, our top 4 for 4. We started today with canceled things, and some of them were jokes. But I'm tired of canceling stuff. All right, tired of it. Except all the subscriptions I accidentally sign up for. That I need to cancel before I'm charged at the beginning of each month off of free trial. Cancel
my Tinder Prime subscription. Wait, what?
Ooh.
What? No, not next segment. We'll delete that one we'll strike that from.
I mean, I am going to marry somebody off of Bumble. Just saying. But keep going.
Yeah, but I don't pay for Tinder. What?
No, a premium membership. What are you talking about? They don't have premium membership.
$99 for 100 super likes. What?
What?
Who did that?
Oh, Mitch, is it time? What time
it's
is
time.
it? I don't know what time it is. Is it? Is it really time?
Oh, it's time. It's really time.
All right. Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm positive.
Who has bigger balls?
Mitch, who has bigger balls? You got a candidate for me today?
Oh, I got a candidate, Jordan. It has to be former Ohio State running back and former Tennessee Titans running back, and now the head coach at Tennessee State, Eddie George. Now, why, you may ask? Because Eddie George says his top candidate to fill the offensive coordinator position is the one and only Hugh Jackson. And that takes balls to hire Hugh Jackson on your football staff, if you ask me.
Wow.
Not only is Hugh Jackson still bitching and complaining about how he got screwed over in Cleveland, like you going 1-31 had nothing to do with that at all, Hugh. Obviously nothing. It also hired a coach that went 1-31. So, Eddie George, you have some big balls to, as your first move at Tennessee State, say your number one target is Hugh freaking Jackson. Bro.
That's upsetting because I love Eddie George.
Yeah.
And I drive by his grill every day in Columbus. You know he has a grill down here?
Like when you make food, or like you just talking like, do they have like a grill he had in his mouth from when he was a big time player and like it's just a pawn shop now? Like what grill?
Good point, Mitt. Good point. Didn't even see that. No, actually a grill where you cook food. It's a restaurant. I think it survived. I think it survived COVID. I'm not sure. Mitch, that's a pretty good candidate, but I think I got you today. And we're going to let Twitter decide. I don't know if you know this, but North Carolina, Roy Williams retired. And we talked about that on the show, so you should know it, as well as everybody in the ball pit. But what you don't know maybe yet is that they hired a former player, Hubert Davis. Now, what you're thinking is that's great. He's a former UNC player. He knows a lot about the game. He's been an analyst in the past, correct? For how long?
Yes.
A long time. I don't know the years, but a long time. Great knowledge of the game. You bring in alumni. I love that UNC hired Hubert. I can't say his name anymore. I feel like Hubert Davis. Well, I said it right the first 10 times. I felt like every time I said it, I get progressively worse. In a press conference, it was the weirdest press conference ever, and I found out about his press conference because I was watching The Breakfast Club, and they do something called Donkey of the Day. And they had Hubert Davis on. In his press conference, he's talking about how proud he is that, he's one of the black head coaches in all of the NCAA. We only have 25% black coaches in NCAA basketball, which
I did not know that.
It seems incredibly low, seeing as all the great players are black. But whatever. Anywho, that's not it. He made a comment saying how proud he was that UNC hired him, how proud he was that he was the fourth UNC coach ever to be black, head coach. And then he said this, and I wish I had the soundbite for this. Oh, my God. I should have taken the time to do this. He said that he's proud that his wife is white. What? You're proud that your wife is white? We never asked you a question. Guys, he was a minute and a half or so into his answer or whatever he was talking about being proud. I mean, we weren't ever talking about I don't even know his wife's name. All I know is she's white. So now, so now check this out. She's going to be known as the white wife. He's put her in a terrible position that people are just going to just destroy her on social media and at games and everywhere else. I'm tired of this defining people by one characteristic. Like, Mitchell Bala is a million different things. He's just not a baseball player. He's just not a friend. He's just not maybe Caucasian. You're a million different things. I'm tired of people being defined by one thing. And the fact that he went out of his way to say that, you could say, hey, I don't think there was, I don't know if there's any way he could have talked about his wife in there and used it in man. Hubert Davis has bigger balls for me because it makes no sense to why he said it. And it seemed like he was signaling to people that he was saying like, hey, maybe I should have, I don't know. It's weird. I have to digest this and think about it more. But it was a very weird thing to come out and say, because why? What does it pertain to? You know what I mean?
Well, it obviously is
why?
Just throwing it out there that his wife is white.
But why?
I think the better question to ask is, why not?
Interracial marriage has been a normal thing for a long time. Why would you come out and say that? It is such a dumb thing to say. He's deserving of the job. I'm glad he got the job.
Yeah,
but
for
what
sure.
the hell are you doing?
Yeah. You know what?
I don't care what
I
color.
don't-
I just go ahead, Mitch. I'm
I
sorry.
don't think this poll doesn't need to make it to Twitter because I think we all know how bad Hugh Jackson is. Listen, Eddie George is literally already putting his head coaching career on the line. But also, so is Hubert Davis. So now I'm in a predicament. I guess is who is.
He
Who's gonna screw
referred
up
to
first?
his wife as White, not by a first name, but by
You know
White.
what? You're right.
His wife is not Loretta, Lorne, Amy, Stephanie.
What
whatever.
if her name's Whitey? Is her name Whitey? Can we figure that? Is her name Whitey? And maybe that's why he referred to her as White.
It's hilarious. Bill Burr has a bit about that. A similar to that
We
in
fact
baseball.
check that.
All I know is that people need to really think before they do press conferences. I've said a lot of dumb things in my life, but I've been drunk for all of them. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say. Hubert Davis, were you drunk at the podium? Were you? I don't know.
I don't know either. Damn, that's good. Those are good ones.
Those were good. I did not know I did not know about the Eddie George thing yet. So thank you.
Of course, my job here is to cover some balls, and you covered some college basketballs, and I covered some college footballs today, and ultimately, I think we covered a lot of balls, and that's really the end. That's all I had planned for episode 41, Jordan. I don't know if you had anything else planned for episode 41, but
Not really.
what I think we do need to let the people know, we're live Thursday. I won't be here. It'll be Jordan and Sam. I also won't be here on Tuesday. So for everyone that's going to miss me, one, don't. Because I know you don't miss me. I know you just like to fire back at my tweets.
I'll miss you.
Yeah, I know you'll miss me. I know
I'll
you'll
miss you.
me. Listen, Sam Summers, the utility infielder, potentially need to get that name changed. As he says he's there. So it's Thursday, episode 42 will be Sam Summers and Jordan McKelly. Not me, though. But guys, oh yeah, make that big. Put it over my face since I won't be here.
It's
Please.
big.
Oh, okay, it vanished. But for episode 41, I'm Mitch Balla.
I'm Jordan McKelly.
And he'll see you on Thursday. I'll see you next Thursday. That's Floyd's On the Go. And as always, remember.
You know, let fucking Baker Mayfield do this